Hello and welcome back. In this session, I'll try to finish the chapter, beginning with the revolution of the liberals. Here you will see that the poor, unemployed and starving peasants were in revolt, but they were not alone. These people were led by the educated, the middle class and some other people, and thus the revolution started. So as we can see that during 1848 in France, they brought some abdictions, means they thrown down the kings, and a republic based of universal male suffrage was brought on. In other parts of Europe, now as we can see, Germany, Italy and Poland or Austria or Hungary, and these were actually not independent before, but the people of this area combined their demands for constitutional reforms and unification. So they took the advantage of this growing popular unrest to push their demands for creation of nation state or the parliamentary principles. So they joined hands together so that freedom of press and freedom of association can be brought. All the German regions, in large number of areas, they brought some kind of associations which were basically led by middle class professionals. They all came together in a city of Frankfurt and decided to vote for all German National Assembly so that they can decide upon what is good, what is bad. Like such, on 18th May 1848, 831 elected representatives marched towards the road so that all people can see who were elected. So for the first time, there was a parliament which was set up in St. Paul Church. Here they drafted the constitution for the German nations to be headed by monarchy subject to a parliament. Here the deputies offered the crown to the King Frederick William, the King of Prussia, but he rejected and joined other kings who opposed the elected assembly, that is the National Assembly of Germany. They all joined together to fight against this constitution. While the opposition of the aristocracy and military was growing stronger, the social basis of parliament was going down, means the parliament was dominated by the middle classes who resisted the demands of workers and artisans, and so they lost their support. As they lost the support, the troops, all the troops were called and the National Assembly was forced to be disbanded. So our next topic is the issue of power extension. Here, women were given political rights. So as they were given, number of women, they participated over many years for showing their nationalism. But when women had formed their own political associations or founded newspapers or taken part in political meetings and demonstrations, then also they are not regarded as important. Despite these, they were denied suffrage or the right to vote during elections of the assembly. So the ladies, whenever there is a parliament convened in the church of St. Paul, women were allowed to enter or sit, but they cannot do anything. They were just observers, whereas men can do whatever they like. The conservative forces were able to suppress the liberal movements in 1848, but they could not restore the old system. The monarchs started feeling that the cycles of revolution and repressions could only be stopped if they grant concession to the liberal nationalist revolutionaries and fulfill their demands. Otherwise, they'll always have the people fighting against them. Hence, in 1848, all the monarchies of Central and Eastern Europe began to introduce the changes that had already taken place in Western Europe before 1815. This is done so that everyone can be free. Thus, serfdom and bonded labours were abolished, both in Habsburg dominions and in Russia, after which the Habsburg rulers granted more autonomy to the Hungarians in 1867. Now let us begin with next topic, that is the making of Germany and Italy. Here we'll be reading about the unification of Germany. So the first part, or the first question: can Germany be the architect of a nation, or can the army be the architect of a nation? So after 1848, nationalism in Europe moved away from its groups or association with democracy. The feeling of nationalism was often mobilized by the conservatives for promoting more and more power so that they can achieve political domination over. This can be observed in the process by which Germany and Italy came together, so that they can be unified as a nation states. As we have seen, nationalist feelings were widespread among middle class Germans, who in 1848 tried to unite many other people by adding different regions of Germany or German Confederation into a nation states, now governed by an elected parliament, so to get more nationalism. So this liberal initiative to nation building was, however, suppressed or thrown out by the combined forces of the monarchy and the military, and were supported by large landowners who were known as Junkers of Russia. So from then on, Prussia took on to the leadership of movement for nationalism or national unification, that is unifying one country. So for this process, its chief minister Otto von Bismarck was the architect of this process, which was carried out with the help of Prussian army and bureaucracy. So during this period, there were 3 wars which was fought within the 7 years with Austria, Denmark and France, and ended in victory of Prussia and completed the work of unification. In January 1871, the Prussian king William I was proclaimed as the German emperor in a ceremony. One cold morning of January 1871, an assembly comprising of princes of German state, representative of the army, all gathered together with the Prince or Prussian minister Otto von Bismarck in a hall of mirrors in palace, so that they can proclaim the new German Empire, which was headed by Kaiser William I of Prussia. The nation-building process in Germany had demonstrated the dominance of Prussian state power, with the help of which the new state placed a strong emphasis on modernizing the currency, the banking system, the legal and judicial system in Germany, so that they can have a better understanding. Now, the Prussian measures and practice often became a model for the rest of Germany. Now, moving on to the Italy unified. So under this, we will be reading about unification of Italy. Like Germany, Italy also had a long history of political fragmentation, means divisions of land, several types of land. Now, Italians were scattered over dynastic states as well as the different types of multinational Habsburg Empire. Now, with this, what we know is that Italy, being a small area, was divided into different parts. Only Sardinia-Piedmont was ruled by Italian princely houses, but other were all under different rulers. The north was under Austrian Habsburg, the center was ruled by the Pope, and the southern part was ruled by the dominance of Bourbon kings of Spain. As most of the region was ruled by different dominions, even the language had not been acquired as common form and still had many regional and local variations. Count Camillo di Cavour, the chief minister who led many movements for unifying Italy, found out different secret society, Young Italy and Young Europe, for carrying out his goals. And then his revolutionary failures continuously, that is in 31 and 1848, meant that he had to do something new. After him came Giuseppe Mazzini. He said that he can carry out some different types of programs for uniting Italian Republic. Likewise, the ruler also, that is the Victor Emmanuel II, thought of uniting Italy through war. The ruling elites of this region, they tried to unite or unify Italy by offering some possibilities of economic development and political dominance. Like many other wealthy and educated members of the Italian elite, Mazzini could speak French much better than he did speak Italy. So now, because of this, he joined alliance with France, Sardinia, Piedmont, and succeeded in defeating the Austrian forces in 1859. Apart from all the regular troops, a large number of armed volunteers under the leadership of Giuseppe Garibaldi also joined in the revolution, that is, unification of Italy. In 1860, all these people marched towards South Italy and succeeded in winning the support of local peasants in order to drive out the Spanish rulers from their area. And in 1861, Victor Emmanuel II was proclaimed as the first king of the United Italy. However, much of the Italian population who were among the illiterate, they were not even aware who was La Italia. They remained blissfully aware or unaware of liberal nationalist ideology. The peasants who supported Garibaldi in southern Italy had never heard of Italia, and they thought La Italia was Victor Emmanuel's wife. The strange case of Britain is our next topic. It's a model of nation where some scholars always argued whether it's Great Britain or not. That is why it is known as the strange case of Britain. Here we'll see that it was the result of long drawn out process, that there was no British nation prior to 18th century. So the primary identities of the people who were living in British islands were ethnic ones, such as English, Welsh, Scottish or Irish. All these ethnic groups had their own cultural and political traditions. But the English Parliament had seized the power from the monarchy in 1688 and end the conflict of supporting or ruling different nations. And this became the instrument through which nation state with England as its center came to be forged, which was not welcomed by many people. There was one act of union between England and Scotland which resulted in the formation of United Kingdom of Great Britain, which meant that England was unable to impose any kind of influence on Scotland. But now the Scotland wanted to do or go away from the British. There's a British Parliament which was dominated by English members. They wanted to take upon Scotland as their area. The growth of British identity meant that Scotland's distinctive culture will be lost. Whatever they do was not welcomed by the Scottish, or Scottish does not like English style, and political institution was systematically suppressed. The Catholic clans of or from Scotland suffered when they attempted their freedom. The Scottish Highlanders were forbidden from speaking their language or their own mother tongue, that is Gaelic language. They were also forbidden to wear their national dresses, and if they do so, they were forcibly driven out of their homeland. Just like Scotland, Ireland too suffered a similar fate. Now the country was divided deeply into Catholics and Protestants, but the English people helped the Protestants of Ireland so that they can build up their dominance over a large Catholic country. The Catholics started to revolt against the British dominance, but this revolt was suppressed by the Britishers. And as it was suppressed by the Britishers, there was no idea what to do. It was a failed revolt which was started by Wolfe Tone and his Irishmen. Ireland was forcefully incorporated into United Kingdom in 1801. A new British nation was forged through the propagation of a dominant rulers or people, after which the symbols of New Britain, the flag, that is the new flag, was brought out. The British flag, which was known as Union Jack, the national anthem, God Save Our Noble King. The English language was actively participated or promoted, and the older nation survived only as a subordinate partners in the Union. Visualizing the nation is our next topic. Under this, we will be studying about how to give a face to a nation. It is not enough to represent a ruler through a portrait or a statue. Then how are we going to give it a face? So many artists in the 18th and the 19th centuries found out ways of personifying a nation. Personifying means relating it to a figure. Now here we are talking about female figures, okay, that is an allegory of the nation. In other words, this allegory represented a country as if it is or it were a person. Now nations were then portrayed as a female figures. Now if we are talking about female figures or the real one, then it is a different thing, but here the female figure did not stand for any particular woman in real life. All the figures that we talk about will be rather, it sought to give the abstract idea of the nation a concrete form. So during the French Revolution, artists used the female allegory to portray ideas such as liberty, justice and republic. These idols were represented through specific objects or symbols during the revolution. As you would remember, the attributes of liberty are the red cap and the broken chain, while justice is generally blindfolded woman carrying a pair of scales. Similar female allegories were invented by the artists in the 19th century to represent the nation. And then in France, she was christened as Marine, a popular name, Christian name, which was underlined with the idea of people's nation. Her characteristics were drawn from those of liberty and the republic, the red cap, the tricolor, and the cockade. Statues of Marine were erected to remind people of the public national symbol of unity and to persuade them to identify with it. The images of Marine were marked on coins and stamps that to be used in Germany during this period. Similarly, Germania became the allegory of the German nation. So in the visual representation, Germania wears a crown of oak leaves, as the German oak stands for heroism. Our next topic is nationalism and imperialism. Here we will see that during this period, nationalist groups became increasingly intolerant of each other and were ready to go to war. Major European powers manipulated the nationalist aspirations of the people in Europe to further their own imperialist aims. The most serious source of nationalist tension in Europe after 1871 was the area called the Balkans. It was an area or a region of geographical and ethnic variation comprising of different people or different continents like Greece, Macedonia, Croatia, Bosnia, Slovenia. All this comes together. A large part of the Balkan was under the control of the Ottoman Empire, and because of which it was a very difficult area to be controlled. The spread of romantic nationalism ideas in Balkans and the disintegration of Ottoman Empire made the region very explosive. All through the 19th century, the Ottoman Empire strengthened itself through modernization and internal reforms. But its European subjects nationalities broke away from its control and declared independence one by one. Balkan people claimed for freedom on nationality through history. They wanted to prove that they were born free or independent but were subjugated by foreign powers under them. Later on, the Balkan rebellions thought to win back their long lost freedom or long lost independence, and thus the different Slavic nationalists struggled to define their identity and freedom. For this, once again, the Balkan area became an area of intense conflict where no one knows what will be the result. The Balkan states were jealous of each other and they were always ready to fight or hope to gain more territory at the expense of others by defeating anyone who comes in their way. Matters became complicated as the Balkans became the target of big power rivalry. Anyone, they had a big target, that is, Balkan is their target. During this period, there was intense rivalry among the European powers over trade, colonies, naval and military powers. These rivalries were evident in the way the Balkan problem was unfolded. Later on, people tried to see that which country or which power should be given more chances to control, like Hungary, Germany and all. And all these were keen on countering the hold of other powers over the Balkans and extending its own control. This series of wars became the reason for the First World War. So with this, I came to the end of the chapter. Thank you.